Welcome, everybody, to the Grilling Crew Cincinnati Bengals Weekly Show, brought to you by Replenishing Care Technologies and Power Plus Mouth Guards. I'm your host for the Weekly Bengals Show, Mike Goodpaster, and right now I want to welcome in my co-host, as always, former Cincinnati Bengal legend, linebacker on the 1988 Super Bowl team. Help me welcome to the show, Joe Kelly.
Hey, what's up, Mike? What's going on, buddy?
Man, Not much. This is the third year we've done this now, Joe. Time flies, doesn't it?
Time flies, man, and we're always very hopeful, Mike, about this time of the year. And
someday we're gonna win a playoff game, Joe.
One day we are going to be right. Our prediction is gonna hold up, and it's going to be a great time. And you look at some of the things that happened during the off season, and they're very promising. But being that we are talking about our Bengals, there was some things also done in the off season that made you just scratch your head.
But you know what? With the Bengals, there's always stuff that makes you scratch your head. That's one of the reasons why we haven't had a playoff win. Right now, we have a new beat writer for the Grueling Truth for the Cincinnati Bengals. We're going to introduce him to everybody. Matt Minich. How you doing, Matt?
I'm good. How you doing?
See, we figured we'd add somebody to the show, and then maybe they get the Bengals that luck to win that game, right, Joe?
Yeah, we need a little luck here and there, man.
We need a lot of luck. But
yeah.
All right, so let's start off talking about free agency in the off season. The Bengals lose Whitworth, Zeitler, Burkhead. What was your opinion, Joe?
Well, I think Zeitler, he was one of the main pieces of the puzzle that I didn't think that we could afford to lose. I understand Whitworth, even though I don't agree with it. I understand being when you factor in his age, I still think that based on what we have as a team, based on our offensive tackles and the people that we have playing that position, I know that Whitworth would still been a valuable part and a very important starter for this team. But being that it's the Bengals and it's Mike Brown, you factor in the age, 35, and the money that he was given, Whitworth looked out for himself, and at this time in his career, that was a very smart move for him. But I think Zeitler's that's going to hurt us. We got Andre, big Andre, and I think putting him inside is going to help some. But I think that's our main area of concern is going to be our offensive line.
Yeah, the only thing I worry about with this, Matt, is that they didn't re-sign Whitworth because a lot of people were talking about they were going to move him to guard or right tackle, and he didn't want to do that. So I'm just hoping this isn't a Mike Brown move where he's paying a first-round pick a lot of money and he wanted that guy to play left tackle.
I mean, I could definitely see that being the case. It gets to the point where they invested so much draft capital in the two tackles that it was time for them to stop splitting time on the right side and get in there and sink or swim, I guess. But it kind of puts you in a situation there where there's no other recourse. It's got to be him. There's no other guy behind him. And they're really resting the whole franchise on believing that he's finally ready to go.
Yeah, and the problem, Joe, when you look at the offensive lines, not just that Ogbuehi didn't play well last year. I don't think Bodine's ever played well. Bowling was hurt. I mean, he did a good job considering the circumstances he was under. But you also got Jake Fisher, who didn't set the world on fire when he was playing tackle last year. So there's almost every position on this offensive line is a question mark, Joe.
Well, yeah, I know the Bengals. When you look at when we're going back to Whitworth, they let one of the greatest offensive tackles in history of the game, a guy I played with, Anthony Munoz. They let him go the latter part of his career, and I don't think he was as old as Whitworth was. I can't recall exactly what age Anthony was when he went to Tampa, but it's the same thing. At the end of the day, it's about the financial position that they're in. And with them re-signing Whitworth, that meant that one of those guys, Fisher, Abuehi, that was another high salary, and someone was going to sit on the bench. So that move was based purely financial. It don't matter what to say. Play for the organization. I've been around the organization. That was a purely financial move. We look at the offensive line, and you got to think of Mike. You got to think of Paul Alexander. He loves the center. He loves that. That's his guy. And when you have a coach that is so believes in the player so much, and I think from a standpoint that he's a guy, he's a veteran guy. He can point. He can tell you. He can adjust to the fronts. So you needed a very experienced guy. He's not going to give you the physicality that we could have gotten in the free agency, but he's going to get you solid play. He's going to be the quarterback of that line. So they look at bringing in Andre Smith, a veteran guy. We put him down inside, which we all thought that's something that they possibly would do with Whitworth. You bring Andre Smith in, and like Mike was saying, this is all in. You're in Vegas, and when you're in Vegas, Mike, and you're down to that last $100. You're going all in with Abuehi and Fisher.
Yeah, but the problem is since 1990, we've always come up snake eyes when we do that if we're playing.
You know what? And at the end of the day, Mike Brown, I'm speaking of, is hoping that all the other pieces offset, the deficit that he has. He knows that they have a deficit. Paul Alexander knows that they have a deficit in the offensive tackles. It is what it is. So only thing that you can do now, where we are right now, the only thing that you can do now is hope that, Abuehi, Mike, you and I were talking a couple of weeks ago, he did that UFC camp. Abuehi did, and we're just hoping and praying that some of the things that he learned in that camp, and the fact that he's been able to attend all the OTAs, and he's relatively healthy. Fisher's relatively healthy, and they're physical, the specimen that they are. Both guys are big. Both guys are tall. Both guys have really good feet. Both guys move. But at the end of the day, we all know and we've all seen that doesn't equate to being a good football player.
Yeah, and let's just get off the offensive line because even if Abuehi's good, you need these other guys to be good. And that's my problem with this team. There's a lot of talent. You get to the draft. I thought the draft was really good, but I still don't know why you don't get an offensive lineman a little bit earlier than your last pick. You need offensive linemen. It's obvious of that. You get Westerman that you picked a year ago, but you don't know what he can do. So they did pick up John Ross, and I think John Ross is a huge pickup for them as long as they can keep him healthy. Because, let's face it, the Bengals needed speed. And this is going to make A.J. Green, Tyler Eifert that much better. I like the John Ross and the Joe Mixon pick. What was your opinion, Matt?
Yeah, I thought John Ross was a great pick. I think when you looked at the top receivers, he was the one that made the most sense for this team. And I think they already had a guy who was a great deep threat, a great size deep threat in A.J. Green. They already had some bigger physical guys with LaFell and with Boyd, but they didn't have that pure speed guy to put opposite A.J. And I really think where he's going to fit in a lot. He's not quite as big, but I think he's going to fit into that Marvin Jones role. Last year they lost two receivers when they lost Jones and Sanu. And they really never they replaced Sanu. They replaced him twice with Boyd and LaFell, but they never really found that guy to fit into the Marvin Jones role. And Jones is the guy that you forgot how good he was because AJ makes so many big plays, but when they would get down to the red zone and AJ be drawing double coverage or something, he was the guy that was popping it free and making some big plays down there. So that's going to be huge, and it's going to be big for AJ too. Opening him up.
And before we talk about Mixon, we got to go to Joe with John Ross, since they're both Washington Huskies.
Yeah, hey man, I was ecstatic, man. That pick. The thing about John Ross, that people I've been watching this kid since he was a freshman, and there's a lot of talk. He's not a real big guy. The consensus was that here he's injury prone, which is totally so far from the truth. The kid had surgery on his knee, and he was out that year. But he was so productive, in the three years he was there. He's when you talk about a guy, when you talk about a threat, I look at and I'm about to put him in some huge shoes. Antonio Brown. When I look at Antonio Brown changes what you do on defense. Antonio Brown either makes you go all out, blitzing, or he's going to make you you're going to make you back guys up because he's such a threat. His speed is such a threat. Now we have a guy that I've seen he's faster than Antonio Brown. That was proven at the combine. But when you look at his route running in college in the Pac-10 was impeccable. But I think what people are going to see that they don't know about this kid is the fact that he has great hands. Yeah, in the years that I watched and followed, him at UW, he very rarely dropped the ball. But you're talking about a guy that they're going to have to account for. They're going to have to account for deep. They're going to have to when this guy's running the 15-yard out, that corner that's covering. I'm telling you, he's bailing out of it. He's going to be hauling ass, thinking it's a 9 route, a deep route. But bigger than that, the fact that he's opposite one of the best, and will go down as probably one of the greatest receivers in NFL history, A.J. Green. When you can imagine Antonio Brown being on the other side of A.J. Green, A.J. Green is about to do something special, in my opinion. He has the potential. If he stays hurt, that kid with Ross opening up the defenses. So you're going to see a lot of the routes that A.J. runs, all those crossing routes. They're going to be open. It's going to be one-on-one.
Well, can you imagine having Eifert at tight end on one side and then those two guys outside of him?
Hey, Mike, I hadn't even got to that. That's why I'm so excited about this kid, John Ross, and what he brings, because he's coming to an offense that has one of the top 3-4 wide receivers in the NFL. If Eifert, a healthy Eifert, is definitely one of the top 5 tight ends in the league. And then you add in Mixon, and
Gio.
And Gio. When Gio comes back, I don't know how long Gio's going to be out. I don't think he's going to start right away. I know they're going to, they should, bring him along slow and just, you get him ready for September. I think, just our offense.
Okay, I can tell you this. Today the Bengals posted that Gio and Eifert look good to go.
Oh, wow. Well, that's when you think about it. Matt, when you think about it, you look at those guys. The guys that they're already proved. Gio, Eifert, AJ, those guys are proven that they can be dominant in the field. And you add someone like John Ross, who has the potential to be so much, and you add that, and you put in a mix in there, skill-wise, skill positions. I think we're going to be able to I don't think there's going to be a defense. Let me just put it that way. I don't think there's going to be a defense that can match up with us, and I think that is going to help out our offensive tackle play. Because we can go quick, we can go short, we can do that, and once we do that, then those defensive ends are going to have to slow down some. We're going to those blitzers are going to have to slow down because you're going to have to keep a safety, over top. You're going to have to try and put a linebacker because if you have one linebacker trying to cover Eifert down the seam, that's all day. we're going to eat that up all day. So, I'm offensively, skill-wise, I'm very excited about, where the Bengals are right now in 2017.
Yeah, I think all they need is an offensive line that is even slightly below average would probably be good enough to score some points.
Yeah, you look at some of the things, and Matt, you can chime in on this. You look at Mike. No, it's not Tom Brady. Dalton's not Tom Brady, but Dalton, man, I'm still a Dalton guy. But if you look at the offensive line that he had last year, these are he played with an offensive line. He played with a patchwork of guys.
No, last year their offensive line was pretty good. The year before was when it was rough, but they still made it to the championship game.
Yeah, but even last year, remember a lot of those guys were missing games. And they're bringing guys in, they're bringing free agent guys.
Yeah, but the difference between the Bengals and Patriots on the offensive line is the coach. Because I can't even pronounce his last name, but he had left a few years ago. They brought him back last year, and then the offensive line suddenly was a lot better again.
Yeah.
They suffered pretty greatly without Scarnecchia that year. And
Scarnecchia.
That was came back.
The whole difference there. Yeah, and they got guys that looked like bad football players that last year all of a sudden became Pro Bowlers just because the guy they had there coaching them. But then again, that's what separates New England from everybody else. Now, I do want to transition to the part of the line that I think is going to be a huge strength again. That's the defensive line. They picked up Jordan Willis in the 3rd round from Kansas State. Carl Lawson, who I think is first-round talent in the 4th round. Plus, they bring back a 4th-round pick last year in Andrew Billings, who I thought was first-round talent, who will be healthy this year. You mix them in with Carlos Dunlap and, of course, Geno Atkins. I think, Matt, that this team's the defensive line could be better than it was even a couple years ago.
I mean, I really think it could. They were missing that guy opposite Dunlap. Johnson just wasn't really getting it done, at least on pass rushing downs. I think with Willis in there, that could be a huge addition. Not sure how they're going to use Lawson. They're listening as a linebacker. Could see him in some situations, pass rush situations down there as well. But definitely adding those guys in there, taking some heat off of Geno, taking some heat off of Carlos Dunlap. That's a great situation to be in there.
Yeah, and a linebacker's best friend, Joe, is a defensive line that can cause a little trouble and occupy those offensive linemen too.
Oh man, that's a linebacker's dream. I used to look at when I was playing here, and we had Crumry and Jim Scowl and Jason Buck. I was a light linebacker. Our safeties, Fulcher was heavier than our D line. I used to look at the Philadelphia Eagles with Jerome Wright and Reggie White, Jerome Brown and Reggie White and Clyde Simmons, Mike Gold, those guys, and imagine playing behind a defensive line like that. This line, I'm not going to say they're as good as that Eagle line because that was some Hall of Famers, but our defensive line can be dominant. And when you're a linebacker, and you think about even on the run plays. You can't just single block 4 of the D line. You're going to have to double 2 of them. If they play to their potential, you're going to have to double 2. So you have 1 free lineman and you're going to have a fullback or most likely an H-back coming trying to block Burfict. And Burfict has been I work out at a personal trainer's world. Richard Carey, one of my former teammates, owns a personal training. He owns personal training worlds in Blue Ash, and Burfict and Kirkpatrick and all those guys, work out there. And I can tell you what about Burfict, man. Burfict looks lean. He looks mean. Burfict looks like he's in shape. I'm a Burfict guy. When you have those, and we the other linebacker that we had. Mike, who was the other linebacker that we added this offseason?
The one from the Cardinals?
From the Cardinals, yeah.
Man, what was his name?
Kevin Minter.
Yeah, Minter. I was actually just looking that up, and then Joe got me before I found it. But, Kevin Minter, I think that is a huge upgrade from Ray Maliuga, especially the Maliuga we've seen the last 2 years, Joe.
Yeah. Ray, I felt bad for Ray, but at the end of the day, hopefully, Ray. I don't know if anybody signed him, but he has to understand he had when you have an opportunity to be in the NFL and to let something, whether or not it's you're hanging out and, drinking or whatever affects your play. And I think that's what Ray did. And subsequently, we've seen when Burfict came in, you see his play spike up for a year, and then it went down. So, we're talking about, guys, it looks like these guys are committed, look like these guys are in shape, look like these guys are ready to play. And when you look at our front seven, I think our front seven can be just as good, just as dominant than any of the defenses that I see in the NFL this year.
The other thing about the linebackers, too, we got Burfict in a contract year, and we got Kevin Minter on a 1-year deal. Says he took a bet on himself by signing a 1-year deal. We got two highly motivated individuals
before they play a game this year.
Yeah. Burfict looks good, man. He's lean compared to. You remember how he was last year? Last year he was.
Oh yeah.
He was heavy. He's yesterday. He was in the gym with Kirkpatrick, man, and I see him moving these big tires, and I was like, hey, he's ready. He's ready to go. You can look at it physically.
Well, why are they on the show tonight, Joe? You were right there with him.
I let the guys. They're in the zone. They're in the zone, man, and I let him. I'm just happy that he looked good. And I think he's ready. Kirkpatrick. Kirkpatrick's looking good. I think he's still bothered. At hand, there's still a situation with his hand, but he's going to need his legs. He can take that hand up come September if it doesn't, if it's still creating an issue with it.
Yeah, you talked about Kirkpatrick. I mean, what's your take on the defensive backs? And I mean, I guess we got to bring it up, Pac-Man Jones.
Oh, Mike. Man, we've been, and I'm a pack, man. I'm tough for this guy, but then you turn around, man, and I always sit down here and I'm hoping it is not as bad as they say it is, and then you get the video, and then it's worse, and I'm sitting and I'm cringing, and I'm just like, Pac, man, just shut up, man.
Yeah, he acts like a 14-year-old that thinks the world owes him everything.
Yeah, and it's at the end of the day, whether or not he felt it was right, being arrested. Just put yourself in a situation. You look at and understand how. And I played 11 years. That you're talking about maybe, but 8 or 9% of the people in the history of the NFL play, that long. So it's an honor. It's a privilege. And then I would think even now, how long he's been in the league, his age, would factor into when you get yourself in situations, and I know I'm in situations, and I'm an older guy, I'm a veteran guy, the coaches are really, really behind me. The owners obviously have been really behind me. They start through, a lot of things that they're going to say, that he's going to say, you know what, Pac-Man, I'm going to say to myself, Pac-Man, just be quiet, and let this thing play out. I think that's ultimately why he got suspended for a game, basically because of, what they heard, the things that he was saying when you've seen the video.
Yeah, he needs to realize everybody films everything anymore, so you can't do anything without everybody seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, the Bengals are all about second chances, and I understand that aspect of things, and I understand that young guys make mistakes when they're making a lot of money and they don't think there's any consequences, but when you're 33 years old, you need to have learned some lessons by now. And he came to Cincinnati, and he said he was going to be Adam Jones, and he's still acting like Pac-Man. You know what I mean?
He didn't for a while. Like I said, 2 years ago, when me and Joe used to do the show with Steeler fans, we always had to defend him. We always did. And now you just look stupid for defending him. Yeah. He is a great talent. He's a great football player. But at some point, you got to grow up because let's face it, the problem with this team is discipline and getting penalties when they shouldn't get them. And it's the same thing there. In life, he does the same thing. If he doesn't like the way things are going, he lashes out instead of just ignore it and play on.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. He has a beautiful wife, beautiful family, man, and you would think even at this point that there's situations that you will not put yourself in, being the veteran that he is, and being the fact that when you think about all the infractions and the things that he has gotten himself in, that he would know to avoid those situations. So when you don't, it's tough for people that are not really your fans to really pull for you, or want you to do well. So that being said, Mike, it is what it is. For whatever reason, Mike Brown really likes the guy, because if he didn't, I've seen guys. I've seen a guy get cut. Freddie Childers, second-round pick, they cut him, and because he came to practice smelling like liquor, and it was training camp. So I've seen Mike cut people because of different situations. We had a kid from Indiana, third-round pick, same way. Things that he was doing, not coming to practice late. They cut him. So here when you have somebody that has as many run-ins with the law and situations, at some point in time, it does become a distraction to the team. So I don't know, and I can't say because I'm not in that locker room. I can't say whether or not that is a distraction for this group. It very may well be, or if these guys or those guys may hate, because I think a lot of things that he did, and he does for the team, that a lot of guys look up to him. So they in the locker room, it's hard to break up that camaraderie. It's hard to for you not to stand behind your brother, the guy that you're battling with. So I understand that, because a lot of teams, I've played on 6 teams, and you get to a point in that locker room, especially when you have dissent, especially when you have negativity, it becomes an us against the world. So let them come. Let's just say all that. Pac-Man, come on, let's ride. We're going to ride with you. Our team is behind you. And, and hopefully it's that, and hopefully the young kid, first-round pick from last year, he's healthy, and he learned a lot from Pac-Man, because I think he could have learned, or he should have learned a lot from Pac-Man, and he's healthy. And we can just hope that some of the other corners, have come along in order, that they can go up against some of the top receivers and hold their own.
Yeah, and the thing is, with the pass rush they should have, Matt, that should make the DBs better right there.
Just like you said about linebackers, a good defensive line is a defensive back's best friend as well. They've got 3 first-round picks, 3 of their own first-round picks. That's leaving Pac-Man out of it at that corner position. With Jackson, that we have seen nothing of, and with Dark Horse Leonard, that we've seen very little of. So the time has come for one of those guys to step up. I think we've seen that we saw it with Kirkpatrick last year as well, or in recent years as well. The Bengals they're pretty good at developing talent, but they're not good at developing talent fast. So Kirkpatrick, it took him a few years to get in there and show what he could do. Dennard's a 4th-year guy. We haven't seen much of him outside nickel packages, but hey, maybe week 1 is Dennard's time. Maybe he's finally going to show why they took him so high. Marvin Lewis isn't big on playing those defensive players when they're young, but when they get in there, they do tend to play pretty well.
Yeah, and we'll go ahead. We're going to wrap it up here shortly, but I just want your opinion. We'll start with Joe first on the Bengals' top 50 player selections. Anybody that was left out you think should have been in?
Oh, definitely. I don't think that there's no way in hell that you can leave out Paul Robinson and Essex Johnson.
Thank you. Especially Paul Robinson, Rookie of the Year.
I don't see how that was possible. I don't see how Ken Riley was not a top 10. That's insane. I think, for the most part, everybody on there was deserving. When you look at, I was shocked James Francis wasn't on that list as far as linebackers. I think the linebackers that were there were well deserving, to be there. But, you want me to put it honest? You want me to keep it honest, Mike? I'm going to keep it honest.
Keep it honest, Joe.
I don't give a damn. You don't put 5 kickers in the top 50 or nothing. I don't care. You don't put kickers. No disrespect, but you don't put 5 kickers and leave a Desmond Johnson and Paul Robinson off. That's insanity. Love Preacher. Preacher's my guy. He should be the highest rated kicker / punter, whatever, on the list, and he was. But, defensively, in where I stand, Ken Riley and Reggie Williams should have been in the top 10.
I think Lamar Perry should have been higher than 18.
Oh, no doubt. So, there's, when you look at, the guys that were named, everybody, everybody played a vital part, an important part, but there was definitely some guys, and those two older guys, even the top 50, those guys, in my opinion, were, at least top 25, in the history of the big organizations. But, it is what it is. A couple people got in because they were, media guys. But, that being said,
That's how it always is, though. It's like that for the Pro Bowl. It's like that for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Anything you do, you see that.
Yeah. So, it's going to be, I was pulling for my guy, Reggie, to be in the top.
And I want to know how Ross Browner and Eddie Edwards are so low.
Yeah. Well, I played with both those guys. It's, at the end of the day, they're deserving. They're deserving their comeback. And, Ross is probably one of the most humble guys I ever met, whether or not he was a football player or just a person, so it'd be good. He's, he lost one of his legs, due to diabetes. So, he'll, just to be exciting to see some of those guys back in town. Hopefully all of them, can make it. So be exciting for the fans.
Yeah, and I think Carl Pickens at 26 is a joke, too. I think he should be higher than that. That guy was a great wide receiver, and I don't blame him for why he was pissed playing here in the early and mid-'90s.
Yeah.
But what do you think, Matt?
Well, it's funny, the Carl Pickens thing, that's actually a little bit what I was getting afraid of with the way they were drafting right away was that they're going to turn back into the 90s and score a lot of points, but give up a ton more points. But well,
no, if you remember when Pickens first got here, like 92 through 95, there weren't too many points being scored.
Yeah, that's true.
And when they were, it was Carl Pickens scoring them.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And how can Corey Dillon be 15? I mean, Corey Dillon's one of the greatest running backs that ever lived. I don't care if everybody got mad at him or not because of the way it ended. And Willie Anderson should be higher than 14. But I'm not going to talk about the people that I think are way too high because I don't want to do that. So.
well, that was actually exactly what I was going to say. Is I mean, how is Corey Dillon not top 5? All due respect. Jim Breach.
Yeah, I love
Breach the kickers in the league.
I love Pete Johnson, but Corey Dillon was the best running back I think the Bengals have had.
Absolutely. Jim Breach as a kicker deserves to be on the list, but Corey Dillon's not in the top 5, and you get a kicker in the top 5. That doesn't make any sense to me.
I think Corey should have been higher, but my opinion is just my opinion. You guys love Corey Dillon, but that damn 21 man, 21 was the toughest guy pound for pound that I ever played with. And I'm talking to James Brooks.
I think James Brooks belongs in the top 10. I'm not saying that at all. So James Brooks was my favorite player when I was younger.
Yeah. So it's look, like I said, everybody's deserving. There's definitely people. Yeah, at the end of the day, you don't take it personal. I'll say, well, this person should have had in. If you got in, you got in. If you didn't, it still didn't negate of James Francis, what I thought of him as a player. People that know Essex Johnson and Paul Robinson, it doesn't negate. You have people voting and saying this and that. It is.
Well, the majority of these people voting Reggie, or I called you Reggie, Joe, are guys that are probably under the age of 35.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, it's an honor for the guys that made it. But in my eyes, the 4 years I played here, I did everything that Dick LeBeau asked me to do. I didn't play in the defense that we played at a 3-4 linebacker. A lot of things that they did with me because I could run. So I wasn't going to ever have 120 tackles in the scheme that we did. And our defense was a defense that we funneled everything to David Fulcher. That's how our scheme was.
Well, I'll tell you, there's not too many linebackers on this list, are there? It's the first time I've ever looked at it that close.
Yeah. When you think about, Mike, you're coach. How often is your inside linebacker is going to go in motion with the tailback?
No, it don't happen.
Well, that's for 4 years. That's what I did. How many schemes where your tight end is going to flex out and you flex out your inside linebacker? So
yeah, it doesn't happen.
So that's what I did. So you look at you a lot of guys didn't make it because you play according to the scheme. What the scheme was that it's going to allow you to do certain things, and other people are going to look better in certain schemes than they really are. And some people you don't think that did make an impact, but they did based on what the defensive scheme was. Joe,
there's a bunch of guys on this list. I ain't going to mention them that I think you belong in front of. So I'll just leave it at that. I didn't want you to get the big head by bringing you up right away.
Oh yeah, it's still, man. Like I said, it was an honor. It was an honor, man, to play 11 years. To be able to play, with some of the because you look a lot of guys on that Super Bowl team. We have some good numbers being represented from the '89 Super Bowl team on there. So it was a privilege and honor to play with alongside those guys and go to war with some of those guys.
But the thing is this, they almost all have to be from the 70s and 80s, most of the list, because I started writing an article today about the Bengals' 15 greatest wins, and I think there's maybe 3 after 1989.
Right. Well, yeah.
So just be lucky you weren't 10 years younger. Showed up here in like 1996 or something.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up, but I'm going to give you both the final word. Matt, you got any final thoughts?
Well, I was just going to say, the other thing about that list is that there's 2 defensive players from the last 35 years on there. I mean, it's
and the thing people don't realize is this: the 81 and the 88 teams are really good offensively, but the 81 and 88, especially 88, the defense carried that team through the playoffs and the last couple games of the season because the offense wasn't clicking the way it was earlier.
Offense didn't score 1 touchdown in the Super Bowl, Mike. All we need is 1 touchdown, and I got a Super Bowl ring. It's 1. Just 1.
That's why Boomer's number 8 instead of number 2.
And ever since guys that weren't on that team moving on, it's Justin Smith, it's Brian Simmons. I don't think there's anybody else on that list that played after that. That's a
there's
big
not
long
many.
gap.
And I'll tell you this right now: Boomer Esiason had a couple great years here, but Boomer Esiason should not be in front of Ken Riley. He should not be in front of James Brooks, Reggie Williams, Max Montoya, Willie Anderson, Corey Dillon, Lamar Parrish. I mean, it's a popularity contest completely.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. You look at this. I think that the biggest it was Ken Riley. When you look at, there's no way Ken Riley is not the greatest defensive bingo player.
Yeah, he's still like third all-time interceptions.
Yeah, Yeah, just what he did. I mean, it is what it is. Like you said, there was when you look at the age of most of the voters, and some of the sports writers that they're from a different era, and it is what it is. That's how they voted. But
and the fact is this: Riley was a great corner from 1969 all the way through 1983. I remember, I think in '83, his last game when they honored him against the Detroit Lions, I think he picked off 1 or 2 passes, and that was the number 1 defense in the NFL in 1983.
Yeah. You think about the longevity. When I look at him and Rich, just the longevity. Just the play. And you're playing with one team, your entire career. Anthony Munoz, you traded, you got rid of Anthony Munoz. You didn't sign him. So the greatest Bengal in history, so you let him go. So when you look at, guys that played their entire career and, things that they did for the organization, you're saying the greatest Bengal players, the top 50 Bengal players. So you're saying, and that's how you played. That's how you, things that you did, in the community, where you're a great teammate, all of that you should play a part of it. Unfortunately, how the voting goes, it didn't. So, we had, the list that it is what it is. Mike, you're a coach, so football. We all, football. Who should be in there deserving, and who should be a little lower. But
to me, I mean, it's Munoz, Anderson, Riley, and Williams, and you can put them in any order you want as long as Munoz is 1, because he is the greatest tackle I've ever seen.
Oh yeah. Well, I played with him, so I know I had a welcome to the NFL my rookie year. So he is the greatest Bengal in history, so far. I
think it's going to take a lot to pass that one, though.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's kind of like if you're going to be a Cincinnati Red, it's going to take a lot to pass Johnny Bench, or if you're a catcher.
Yeah.
So I know you're a damn Dodgers fan, but I just figured I'd bring that up anyway.
Yes.
All right, Matt, did we interrupt your final thought, or did you give your final thought?
Yeah, I was just wrapping that up. So, looking forward to this year, I'm really interested to see throughout training, throughout the preseason, what the offensive roster breakdown looks like. I think it's going to tell us a lot about where they're going. With the struggles they're going to have on offensive line and the additions they've made to the skill positions, what do they do with that tight end spot for one? If a Tyler Croft is gone, if a Hewitt is gone, if they're looking to get more of those guys that are going to spread out, I think that's telling us they're going to spread out the defense quite a bit and try and take pressure off.
I would think it'd be hard to get rid of Hewitt.
Yeah. I mean, I agree because he's the only one that does what he does in from that H-back position. But I think that's why it'll tell us quite a bit about where they're going. They did a little bit of that stuff with Burkhead as well. Obviously, a different kind of athlete, but they would use him in there to in the blocking situations as well. He's gone. If they completely do that, if they get away from Hewitt as well, it's going to tell you that they're going to be spread out a lot. And Eifert's going to be on the field, but he might not be in the 3-point stance very often. And maybe that's how they're trying to take the pressure off those tackles is by really spreading it out and saying, hey, good luck playing man-to-man against the guys that we're lining up against, just to be able to make that a situation where they can have where they can have some help for both those tackles, really.
Yeah, and my biggest question is, will they ride with Joe Mixon from the start of the year? Because Marvin doesn't always like to go with the young guys right away.
Mm-hmm.
So does he keep Jeremy Hill around, or does he go with Mixon? I hope he goes with Mixon because I think Mixon's going to be a special player. The other question is, do they have enough DBs where Pac-Man Jones' time will finally be up? Because I think it comes down to this. I think as long as he can be one of the 2 or 3 best corners on this team, he's going to be here. But as soon as he's not, I mean, some of this is about money. And if he's a guy that's not going to be a starter, I think he might be gone, Joe. But what's your final thought?
I think Mixon is going to have to earn. I think Mixon will eventually take that job. But I think Jeremy Hill, I kind of know Marvin a little bit. I think it's Jeremy Hill's job to lose. So, Jeremy, you're going to have to lose it. If Jeremy Hill of his rookie year comes back, then Mixon's going to have to work his ass to get in there. But when I think offensively as a team, I think we're gonna spread teams. We're gonna spread them out. I think we're going to try to slow down that pass rush. I think Hewitt is going to be utilized a lot because I think initially they're going to want him to be in there and help and chip on those defensive ends to give those guys some help and try to build their confidence. Because you want Brady and you want Fisher, you want them to start off, doing well. So I think they're going to do some things, some quick passes, some really quick hitting runs. To build those guys' confidence up. Because you're saying, hey, we need these guys for 16 weeks. And if you get down there and week 1 and week 2, and Brady and Fisher if they look anything similar to last year, they're going to tank out because, NFL, this thing is about confidence. And I think if those guys don't do things offensively to help those guys gain confidence, it's gonna be a tough year for them.
And the thing that's scary, Joe, this is going to be my final word for the final time, but the thing that's scary to me is this. 2 of the best defensive lines in football come here the first 2 games in Baltimore and Houston.
Oh, yeah. So, it's NFL. Right? At the end of the day, man, it is what it is. Yeah, and, welcome to the NFL, buddy. So, I think the scheme-wise, we're going to do quick hitting. And then once you get those guys back on their heels, and now we can, Andy can take a couple 5-step drops. I don't think we're going to open up with any 5-step drops because I think Blahey and Fisher, based on how they played, the last couple of years, will get destroyed. I think we're going to approach defenses, that way, quick hitting things, and see what they're going to do, and make the defense adapt to what we're doing. Defensively, Mike, Matt, our front 7 is going to have to play. I think our cornerbacks, the kid from Houston, he comes along. I think Denard. To me, unfortunately, Denard is who Denard is. I don't think he's going to come out and show and play any different than he is. At the end of the day, I think Denard may be a casualty because you've been a first-round pick and you've barely broken being a nickelback. If Pac-Man wasn't suspended, you probably wouldn't even be a nickelback based on the kid from Houston. So I don't think Denard. I think maybe they can probably see if he can work at safety. But at corner, I don't see that kid get any better based on what I've seen. And I still think our area of concern, Mike, is going to be our safeties. So I think our tackles are our weaknesses, and I think our safeties are going to be, our weaknesses. And hopefully we can get enough pressure with our front 7 that can help those guys, playing safe position. And if our front 7 can play and our skilled offensive players can play, I think with momentum halfway through the season, we're rolling, we're doing some good things, confidence. And when you have confidence, hey, you play, according to your confidence, and that's what we're going to need. And maybe we'll have a break here and there, Mike. We have a ball bounce our way, I think we're going to see it early. Like you said, we're going to get tested out the gate, with our offensive tackles, and we're going to be able to see. And hopefully it doesn't start bad. Hopefully, they can give us some hope, for this upcoming season.
Yeah, as Bengal fans, we don't look for Super Bowls. We look for hope. But I want to remind everybody, you can catch us every week during the season. We'll probably have a show here in a couple weeks also. But this year, in the 50th anniversary, we're going to have a lot of former Bengal greats on. We've already had guys like Bob Johnson, John Stofa, Gary Burley, Kenny Anderson, all these guys are going to be on during the year. Ken Riley said he'd come on with us, Joe, so we're going to kind of line these guys up all year and give you something to listen to that is worth listening to, even if the season falls apart. But we plan on, doing 2 weeks' worth of shows every night when the Bengals are playing in the Super Bowl this year, right?
Right.
Don't laugh when I say it, Joe. Damn, it makes me not think it's possible. But once again, I want to thank Matt Minich. You can check all his articles out on thegruelingtruth.net. Where can they follow you on Twitter, Matt?
It's at Coach Minich, one word.
All right. I want to thank Joe, as always. I want to remind everybody that you can catch all of our shows. We also have a 49er show with Dexter Carter, a Rams show with Tony Hunter. We got probably 10 to 12 teams we'll have shows with. Most of them have former NFL players on them, so make sure you check them out at thegruelingtruth.net. You can catch all of our shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, Google Music, pretty much anywhere you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. You can go to iTunes and actually download the app for The Grueling Truth now, so make sure you do that also. So for Matt Minich, Joe Kelly, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends